Hypocrisy. Question. Why should a spiritual master be treated with respect and thought of with awe and humility? Answer. Not for him, but for ourselves. It is the posture of mind which accompanies the feeling of respect, which attunes us to reality and banishes self-satisfaction. Just as when people mourn the dead, they are doing so because of themselves. The dead are unaffected by it. So too, when people are too self-centered, they cannot learn. They have to think of others as more important than themselves. People sometimes become too man-worshipping, however, to think too much of their spiritual teacher. It is because of the need to balance the attitude to get it just right that this story of the sanctimonious dervish is told. There was once a religious man who liked to think of himself as a true dervish. He liked, too, to abide by all the rules of the divine and secular laws, and because he felt pride at this, he became, like so many other people before and since, an unconscious hypocrite. This state quite naturally prevented him from making any real progress on the spiritual path, and an angel decided to help him out of his difficulty. One day, therefore, when the dervish was looking at a condemned man being led past his house, and feeling how right it was that the miscreant should suffer, the angel appeared before him. The apparition said, "For imagining sanctimoniousness to be real piety, you are condemned to wander the face of the earth without hope of salvation, until buds shall appear and blossoms on a dead branch." The dervish was at first indignant and thought that the angel must be an impostor. Then, as events forced him from his home and onto the public streets, he realized that there might be some truth in this matter. There was an old blasted oak tree at the top of the hill, which seemed completely dead, and the allegedly pious man used to go to look at this, pondering his fate and wondering about his potential. One day he ran into a barber on the road, and the barber said, "If I do not keep and practice, I shall not be able to get a job when I get to my destination. May I shave you?" The semi-dervish at first felt affronted that this reverend beard should be assailed, but suddenly the thought struck him that he was, after all, a fraud, and there was no point in keeping a beard if the man behind it had not attained perfection. So he agreed, and the barber shaved his beard off. It was at this moment that the roots of the tree started to take in moisture and nutrition. Then the dervish saw a very poor man walking along the road without a rag to cover him. "All I have myself," he said to himself, "is this patched dervish coat." Then he remembered that the sign of the patched coat was to indicate his state, and yet his state was one of outward show while he wore it. So he took the cloak off and shared it with the poor wayfarer. Thank you, babe. Then it was the sap that began to rise in the trunk of the tree on the top of the hill. Not long afterwards, the dervish was sitting under the tree when two seekers after truth came along. Seeing this devout-looking figure before them, they asked him to teach them something. He said, "What I can teach you is that wherever you see anyone who looks devout, who wears a beard, who is glad to teach you, who allows people to address him by religious titles, you are probably dealing with a fraud." And at that moment, buds appeared on the branches of the tree, and almost immediately afterwards, they burst into flower. Interesting story, huh? This book is about ourselves. Mr. Shaw wrote this book and all these anecdotes and all of these parables to teach us about ourselves. What does this book teach? What did this little anecdote teach about me? Well, it taught me to be a real person. It taught me to be the person that I am, because anything else is fake. And people out there in the real world, there are very few people that are actually true to themselves. So, is the story valuable? Oh, this is very valuable. It's about ourselves. Thank you.